What if I told you that the stories of America's richest Jewish families don't just hold the secrets to building great wealth, but also hold the key to dismantling a dangerous centuries-old lie? We're going to count down 10 of the wealthiest Jewish family businesses in America. But this isn't just about money. With each story, we'll take apart one of the most persistent anti-Semitic myths ever told. You've heard the names whispered in conspiracy theories. You've seen the headlines, often stripped of context. The truth of how these families built their fortunes is a story of immigration, innovation, and a relentless drive to succeed. It's a classic American story, but for generations, it's been twisted and weaponized. The idea of Jewish wealth has been used not to celebrate success, but to stoke fear, painting a picture of a shadowy cabal pulling the world's strings. This is about setting the record straight. We'll explore the incredible entrepreneurial journeys of these families, celebrating their ingenuity and their impact. But we won't stop there. With each story of success, we will confront the ugly myths that have grown in their shadows. We'll separate fact from fiction, history from hate. By understanding how these empires were actually built, through hard work, smart decisions, and sometimes just being in the right place at the right time, we can pull apart the very foundation of these dangerous stereotypes. This isn't just a list, it's a counter-narrative. It's a story of ambition and a takedown of anti-Semitism, one family, one story, and one myth at a time. Number 10. The Gomez family, the colonial founders. We start our list not with billions, but with the beginning. We're going back to a time before the United States was even a country, to colonial New York at the turn of the 18th century. This is where we meet the Gomez family, one of the most prominent Jewish families of the era. Their story is vital because it shows a pattern of entrepreneurship that's older than the nation itself. Luis Moses Gomez, a Sephardic Jew whose family had fled the Spanish Inquisition, arrived in New York around the late 1990s. He wasn't a banker or a financier in the modern sense. He was a merchant. Seeing the opportunity in the New World, he started trading commodities, most notably wheat and furs across the Atlantic. His ventures were so successful that he became a wealthy and respected figure. Around 1714, he built a stone house in Ulster County to serve as a trading post with Native American tribes. That structure still stands today as the Gomez Mill House, one of the oldest surviving Jewish residences in North America. The Gomez family's success was built on tangible goods, international trade, and smart real estate investments. They were so integrated into the fabric of New York that some accounts note prominent Jewish merchants, their circle, contributed to civic projects like the building of the steeple for the iconic Trinity Church. Their history flies in the face of one of the oldest and most foundational anti-Semitic myths, that Jewish success is parasitic and non-productive, rooted in abstract financial tricks rather than tangible creation. This is the myth of the unproductive financier. The caricature is the moneylender who produces nothing, only profiting from the work of others. This trope began in the Middle Ages, when many Christians were forbidden by the church from lending money at interest. This pushed Jewish people into those roles, which were then used to demonize them. But the facts of the Gomez family tell a different story. Their wealth came from the very real business of exporting wheat, trading furs, and selling merchandise. They were part of a mercantile network that built the colonial economy. They created value through logistics, risk-taking, and identifying market needs. The lie of the myth is that it deliberately erases this history. It ignores centuries of Jewish merchants, artisans, and innovators. The Gomez family proves that from the very beginning, Jewish entrepreneurship in America was about building and trading, not just lending. They weren't outsiders manipulating a system. They were insiders helping to build it from the ground up. From the colonial era, let's jump forward to the Gilded Age, a time of explosive industrial growth and the birth of a new American institution, the department store. And right at the heart of this revolution were the Bloomingdale brothers. Lyman and Joseph Bloomingdale, sons of German Jewish immigrants, started their journey in 1861 with a small ladies' notion store in New York City. Their first big bet was on a trendy item, the hoop skirt. But their vision was much bigger. They understood that the future of retail wasn't just selling stuff, it was about creating an experience. In 1872, they opened the Bloomingdale Brothers' Great East Side Bazaar, and in 1886, they established their landmark store in Midtown Manhattan. What made them different? Showmanship. They brought in diverse European fashions, creating a one-stop shop for the rising middle class. They pioneered retail as theater, with lavish window displays and immersive model rooms that made customers feel like they were stepping into a dream home. The story of the Bloomingdales is one of innovation in marketing and customer experience. Yet their success, along with that of other Jewish merchants, fed an insidious myth, the myth of the retail conspiracy. This theory alleges that Jewish merchants secretly collude to control the marketplace, fix prices, and push a cultural agenda through the products they sell. It's a paranoid fantasy suggesting that when you walk into a department store, you're not a customer, but a pawn. The truth shows a much simpler and more impressive reality. Bloomingdale's succeeded because they were brilliant marketers who understood what people wanted: access to fashion, style, and a sense of aspiration. Their company was so successful that it was absorbed by Federated Department Stores in 1930. The founding brothers had passed away years earlier, but the business they built endured. The fallacy of the retail conspiracy myth is that it mistakes market leadership for malicious coordination. These families weren't in a secret club, they were fierce competitors. Their shared immigrant drive and community networks gave them a leg up, but their success was a product of open competition, not backroom deals. The Bloomingdales didn't conspire to take over retail, they just out-hustled and out-imagined the competition.
Number 8. The Rabinovitz/Rab family, the supermarket pioneers. Our next story takes us from high fashion to the humble grocery aisle. The way we shop for food today, in huge self-service supermarkets, wasn't inevitable. It was a revolution, and one of its key architects was the Rabinovitz family of Boston, who later became known as the Rab family. The story starts in the 1890s when Yente Rabinovitz, an immigrant from Russia, opened a small grocery store in Boston's North End. That entrepreneurial spirit passed to her children. In 1914, her sons founded the Economy Grocery Stores Company. It was a family affair, built on hard work and understanding their community. But it was the next generation, led by Sidney Rab, who truly transformed the industry. In the 1930s, the company began experimenting with a radical new concept, the self-service supermarket. This model, letting customers pick their own goods instead of a clerk fetching them, dramatically lowered costs and increased selection. The family fully embraced this future, and in 1946, the company was renamed Stop & Shop, Inc. That same year, the family name was officially changed to Rab. It's a classic American tale of immigrant success, but it also provides a powerful counterpoint to a myth that targets the very heart of Jewish identity: the myth of community exclusivity. This stereotype suggests that Jewish business people only help their own, creating closed economic circles that benefit their community at the expense of others. It paints Jewish success as insular and exclusionary. The history of the Rab family and Stop & Shop shows the exact opposite. While their journey began within the Jewish immigrant community, their success was built on serving everyone. Their key innovation, the supermarket, was designed for the masses. By lowering prices and increasing convenience, they made better food more accessible to all of Boston's diverse communities. The Rab family also became known for philanthropy that went far beyond their own community, supporting major institutions like Beth Israel Hospital, Brandeis University, and the Boston Public Library. The fallacy of the exclusivity myth confuses community solidarity with exclusion. Like many immigrant groups, Jewish communities historically relied on internal networks for support in the face of discrimination. But the goal was almost always to build businesses that could thrive in the broader American marketplace. The Rab's success wasn't built by closing doors, but by opening them wider than ever before. Number 7. The Wexner family, building a brand empire. Next up is the story of a man who single-handedly transformed the American mall and redefined specialty retail. Les Wexner, founder of L Brands, built an empire that included some of the most recognizable names in fashion, from The Limited to Victoria's Secret. Wexner's journey began in 1963 in Columbus, Ohio. With a $5,000 loan from his aunt, he opened one store called The Limited. His concept was simple but revolutionary. While department stores tried to be everything to everyone, his store would be limited, focusing only on popular items for young women. This sharp focus let him dominate a niche larger stores had missed. His genius was in creating powerful brands. He bought Victoria's Secret in 1982 for just $1 million when it was a failing chain, and transformed it into a global lingerie powerhouse. Over 5 decades, he built a multi-billion-dollar retail conglomerate. More recently, the family's net worth has soared, reportedly to over $10 billion, thanks in large part to an incredibly savvy early investment in the AI company CoreWeave. However, the sheer scale of Wexner's influence and wealth has sometimes been used to fuel a modern version of an old myth, the myth of the billionaire puppet master. This conspiracy theory claims that ultra-wealthy individuals, particularly Jewish billionaires, use their fortunes to secretly control politics and public opinion from behind the scenes. It dismisses legitimate philanthropy and civic engagement as a cover for a hidden agenda. The facts of Les Wexner's life paint a much more public picture. Wexner has been incredibly influential, but his influence has been wielded openly. He's a prolific philanthropist, and his family name is on major Ohio institutions like the Wexner Medical Center at Ohio State University. His Wexner Foundation is a prominent organization dedicated to strengthening Jewish leadership, a goal it pursues publicly. This isn't the work of a man hiding in the shadows. The fallacy of the puppet master myth is its cynicism. It refuses to accept that wealthy individuals can have genuine civic or religious motivations. It takes the visible act of donating to a university or funding leadership programs and recasts it as a sinister act. Les Wexner's career shows that immense wealth certainly brings immense influence, but that influence is typically exercised through public channels, foundations, political donations, and large-scale civic projects, not a secret cabal.
Number 6. The Goldman family, the quiet landlords of New York. Now we enter the world of New York City real estate, where fortunes are made block by block. Here we find the Goldman family, who quietly amassed one of the largest private real estate portfolios in the world. Sol Goldman, the son of a Brooklyn grocer, was the architect of this empire. Starting in the 1950s, he bought up properties, often at foreclosure auctions, with a keen eye for undervalued assets. His strategy was simple: buy and hold. He rarely sold. At his peak, he was the city's largest private landlord, with a portfolio that included hundreds of properties, even at one point, the Chrysler Building. After his death in 1987, his estate was valued at nearly $1 billion. Under the management of his heirs, that figure has multiplied, with the family's fortune now estimated to be worth over $12 billion. His daughter, Jane Goldman, now runs the family company, Soleil Management, making her one of the most powerful women in real estate. The Goldman family's immense, tangible wealth in physical property is a perfect case study to debunk one of the most confusing anti-Semitic canards: the myth of controlling the Federal Reserve. This conspiracy theory is a cornerstone of modern anti-Semitism. It falsely claims a small group of international Jewish banking families secretly owns and controls the U.S. Federal Reserve. Proponents point to names like Rothschild, Warburg, and, by extension, any wealthy Jewish family as the secret shareholders of America's central bank. The story of the Goldman family helps dismantle this lie through sheer contrast. First, the facts. The Federal Reserve is not a private corporation owned by families. It is a quasi-governmental entity. Its board of governors is appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Its profits are returned to the U.S. Treasury. There are no secret family shareholders. The fallacy of this myth is that it intentionally misrepresents the central bank's structure to create a sinister narrative. The Goldmans built their fortune in a way anyone can understand. They bought buildings. You can see their assets, touch them, find them on a map. Their wealth is tied to the tangible value of New York City, not to printing money. By highlighting a family whose massive fortune is rooted in something as solid as brick and mortar, we expose the absurdity of a myth that relies on shadowy abstractions and a complete misunderstanding of how our financial system actually works. We're halfway through, and as we're seeing, the real stories of how these fortunes were built are far more fascinating than the myths. If you're finding this exploration of business, history, and myth-busting important, take a moment to subscribe. We have more deep dives like this coming, and you won't want to miss them. Now, let's get back to the list. Number 5, the Sackler family, a story of controversy and complication. Our next family represents the most complex and controversial story on this list. The Sackler family built a fortune of around $11 billion through their ownership of Purdue Pharma. Their story requires careful distinction because it involves both very real criticism and the separate, dangerous overlay of anti-Semitic tropes. Founded in 1952, Purdue Pharma was a modest company until the mid-1990s. In 1995, it introduced OxyContin. Marketed as a revolutionary painkiller with a low risk of addiction, OxyContin became a blockbuster, generating tens of billions of dollars. But as has been extensively documented, the claims about OxyContin's safety were devastatingly misleading. The aggressive and deceptive marketing of the drug is now widely seen as a primary catalyst for the opioid crisis. This has led to thousands of lawsuits, bankruptcy for Purdue Pharma, and a heavily litigated settlement structure requiring the family to pay up to $7 billion to fund addiction recovery programs. The legitimate public outrage directed at the Sacklers makes this subject difficult. But it's precisely this controversy that gets exploited by anti-Semitism through the toxic myth of the Jewish poisoner. This ancient and horrific blood libel alleges that Jews seek to harm non-Jews by poisoning wells, spreading disease, or in its modern form, pushing dangerous drugs. During the Black Death in the 14th century, Jews were massacred across Europe after being falsely accused of causing the plague. This trope resurfaces time and again, attaching itself to any situation where a Jewish person or company is associated with medicine or public health. Separating fact from myth here is critical. Fact: the business practices of Purdue Pharma under the Sacklers' leadership have been judged by courts and public opinion as having caused immense harm. The criticism of their marketing is based on evidence. Myth: the idea that they did this because they are Jewish, as part of some plot to harm society, is a baseless and hateful conspiracy theory. The fallacy is that it intentionally misrepresents the motivations to create a sinister narrative. The Sackler story is a cautionary tale about corporate malfeasance.
To twist it into a narrative about a Jewish plot is to exploit a real tragedy to breathe life into a medieval prejudice.
Number 4. The Tisch family, the masters of diversification. Moving from a specialized empire to one built on broad diversification, we have the Tisch family. Starting with a single hotel in 1946, brothers Lawrence and Preston Robert Bob Tisch built a sprawling conglomerate, Loews Corporation, and a family fortune estimated at over $10 billion. Their strategy was a masterclass in diversification. After establishing a successful hotel business, they used the profits to acquire companies in completely different industries. Their model was to find and buy undervalued companies and turn them around. Over the decades, Loews grew to include major holdings in insurance and energy, but the family is perhaps most publicly known for their move into pro sports. In 1991, Bob Tisch bought a 50% stake in the New York Giants football team for $75 million. Today, the team is estimated to be worth over $6 billion, and the family remains deeply involved in its management. This ability to see value across different sectors, from a hotel room to an oil rig to a football field, is the hallmark of their success. The Tisch family's story, particularly their ownership of a major sports franchise, helps us dismantle a pervasive myth, the myth of Jewish control of media and entertainment. This is one of the most common conspiracy theories. It claims a small group of Jewish executives secretly controls Hollywood, TV, and news media to brainwash the public. The ownership of any high-profile media or entertainment asset by a Jewish person is often cited as proof. The facts of the Tisch family's empire show how absurd this is. First, their primary wealth comes from insurance and energy, not media. Their ownership of the Giants is a significant but single piece of a much larger portfolio. They are business people who made a strategic investment. Second, the idea of a coordinated agenda in media is laughable to anyone who understands the industry. It's a hyper-competitive ecosystem of studios, networks, and streamers, all fighting for eyeballs and profit. The fallacy of the control myth is that it projects a sinister, unified purpose onto what are simply individual business decisions. The Tisches bought into the Giants because it was a good investment, not to push an agenda. Their story is about business acumen, not cultural domination. Number 3. The Newhouse family, from print to pixels. Next is a dynasty that has shaped what Americans read for a century. The Newhouse family, with a fortune estimated at over $24 billion, preside over the media empire Advance Publications, which has navigated the transition from print to digital. The empire began in 1922 when Sam Newhouse started building a portfolio of local newspapers. His sons, Cy and Donald, massively expanded the business. Cy ran the magazine division, Condé Nast, which include iconic titles like Vogue, The New Yorker, and Vanity Fair. Donald managed the newspaper side. For decades, they were giants of print. But their true genius was their ability to adapt. As print declined, they made strategic investments in new media. One of their most prescient bets was an early investment in a small social media site called Reddit. That early stake became worth billions, especially after Reddit's IPO. They also hold substantial long-term stakes in media giants like Warner Bros. Discovery and Charter Communications. The Newhouse family's huge influence in media makes their story a prime example to further deconstruct the myth of controlling the media. While our last entry showed diversification beyond media, the Newhouses are squarely in it, making this confrontation even more direct. The myth, as we know, alleges a coordinated effort by Jewish executives to control public thought. The Newhouse portfolio, with its influential publications, is often cited as a prime exhibit. But look at the facts. The publications owned by Advance are not a monolith. The New Yorker is known for deep-dive liberal commentary. Vogue is a Bible of fashion and luxury. Reddit is a sprawling, chaotic collection of user-run communities covering every topic imaginable. The idea that these platforms are all marching to a single, secret agenda is to ignore reality. They serve radically different audiences and often host competing viewpoints. The fallacy of the media control myth is its complete misunderstanding of business and journalism. For these publications to succeed, they have to appeal to their target audiences. The Newhouse family's approach has historically been hands-off with editorial content, focusing instead on financial performance. Their success is a story of shrewd acquisition and a timely pivot to digital, not ideological puppeteering.
Number 2. The Pritzker family, the hospitality innovators. Our runner-up is a name synonymous with luxury hotels and vast influence, the Pritzker family. This Chicago-based dynasty has been on the Forbes list of America's richest families since it began in 1982. The family's journey into massive wealth truly began with Jay Pritzker. In 1957, sitting in a coffee shop at the Los Angeles airport, he saw a motel called the Hyatt House and impulsively bought it. From that single airport motel, he and his brother Donald built the global Hyatt Hotels chain, redefining modern hospitality. But they didn't stop there. The family diversified into a massive industrial conglomerate and other ventures. Today, the vast family fortune is spread across numerous heirs, many of whom are billionaires in their own right, including J.B. Pritzker, the current governor of Illinois, and Penny Pritzker, the former U.S. Secretary of Commerce. The Pritzkers' vast, diversified, and multi-generational wealth makes their story the ultimate refutation of perhaps the most dangerous myth of all, the myth of the global conspiracy or the secret cabal. This is the mother of all anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. It alleges that a secret council of elite Jewish families meets in secret to orchestrate global events, start wars, and install political leaders to establish a new world order. It's a fantasy that attributes all the world's evils to one hidden group. The reality of the Pritzker family is a story of public, and sometimes messy, capitalism. Their empire wasn't built in secret. It was built through publicly recorded real estate deals and corporate acquisitions. When the family fortune was divided, it wasn't done in a secret chamber. It was a complex process that even involved public lawsuits between family members. Furthermore, family members like Governor J.B. Pritzker have operated in the full glare of the public spotlight, subject to elections and political scrutiny. The fallacy of the global conspiracy myth is that it provides a simple, evil answer to complex questions. The conspiracy theorists' answer is simple: the cabal did it. This lazy, paranoid thinking absolves people of the need to understand the real forces of geopolitics, economics, and history. The Pritzker story shows that wealth buys influence, for sure, but its influence wielded through known corporate structures and political processes, all operating out in the open. There is no secret cabal, only a very public and very powerful family. Number 1. The Lauder family, the American dream, bottled. And that brings us to our number 1 story, the Lauder family, the dynasty behind the global cosmetics giant Estee Lauder. With a family fortune estimated in the tens of billions of dollars, their story is a quintessential American success story, born from the ambition of one remarkable woman. Estee Lauder, the daughter of Hungarian and Czech Jewish immigrants, didn't inherit a fortune. She started her business in her kitchen, developing skin creams with her chemist uncle and selling them to local beauty salons in Queens, New York. With her husband Joseph Lauder, she founded the company in 1946. Her strategy was revolutionary. She pioneered the gift with purchase concept, a staple of the industry to this day. She believed in the high-touch experience, personally demonstrating her products on customers. Her motto was, "Telephone, telegraph, tell a woman." She understood viral marketing before the internet existed. From those humble beginnings, the Estee Lauder companies grew into a global behemoth, acquiring iconic brands like Clinique, MAC, and Bobbi Brown. Today, the family remains deeply involved, with multiple generations holding key leadership positions.
The Lauder family's journey from a kitchen in Queens to a global empire is the perfect story to end on because it directly challenges the very premise of anti-Semitism itself, the myth of inherited, unearned power. This insidious lie suggests that Jewish wealth and power are not earned by merit, but are passed down through secretive lines, a kind of unholy inheritance that locks everyone else out. It denies the possibility of Jewish innovation, hard work, and the classic rags to riches story. The facts of Estée Lauder's life shatter this myth. She wasn't born into wealth, she was a founder, an innovator, and a relentless entrepreneur who built an empire from scratch. She outcompeted established players by being smarter and more in tune with her customers. Her success was earned. While her descendants have indeed inherited immense wealth, the fortune itself was created in a single generation through classic American entrepreneurship. The fallacy of the unearned power myth is its deep-seated racism. It refuses to grant to Jewish people the same possibility of individual achievement that is celebrated in other groups. The story of Estée Lauder is an irrefutable counterargument. It proves that behind the facade of a multi-billion-dollar dynasty can be a story as simple and as powerful as the American dream itself. So there you have it. 10 families, 10 incredible stories of success. As we've seen, these empires were not the product of a shadowy conspiracy. They were built on innovation, from the Raab family's self-service supermarket to Estée Lauder's gift with purchase. They were built on strategic risk, from the Pritzker's first hotel to Sol Goldman's belief in New York real estate. And they were built on a relentless drive to adapt, like the Newhouse family's pivot from print to digital. These are stories of entrepreneurship, of seeing a need and filling it. And yet, for centuries, these very successes have been twisted into weapons. The myths we've discussed of secret cabals, media control, and financial puppetry are dangerous lies that have been used to justify discrimination and violence for generations. They are lazy explanations for a complex world. They thrive in darkness and wither in the light of facts. The real story isn't one of secret control, but of visible contribution and, at times, public controversy. It's a story of businesses that have employed millions, created products that define our daily lives, and families whose philanthropy has shaped our cities and institutions. By understanding their true histories, we don't just learn about wealth, we arm ourselves with the most powerful weapon against hate, the truth. The antidote to a lie is not a silence. It is a better, more compelling, and more accurate story. And the truth is always a better story. Thank you for joining us. We believe conversations like this are crucial. What part of this history surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. We read every one. And if you found this video valuable, please share it. Spreading knowledge is how we combat misinformation. For another look into the history of great fortunes, check out our video, The Rise and Fall of the World's Most Powerful Banking Dynasties. Thanks for watching.